So my dear students, as I was saying that problems are inevitable. So nobody can escape from problems and nobody can run away from problems. So only thing is you need to face the problems accordingly. How do you face the problems is an important aspect. So there are solutions for all problems, but how are you facing these problems? So most of the time what happens is that when problems do come or when problems arrive, people don't realize, first of all, they don't realize that there is a problem. So identification of a problem is very important. So that is where many people fail until one arrives at a critical situation or until one arrives at a difficult time where nothing can be done. People don't realize. So first thing is when you are there, you need to identify the problem. So you need to realize that there is a problem in this particular situation or there is a problem in this particular area of my life. So after you identify the problem, you have to analyze the problem. That means you need to make questions at the problem. That's what I show you in the earlier script, that you need to put questions, WH questions at the problem. Why is the problem? How is the problem? Where is the problem? When did the problem come? All these things. Then you plan for the solutions. You look for the solutions as that a famous person has mentioned. You need to identify, look for the solutions, find for the mathematician. As you can see, for one problem, you can look for different solutions, name them, list them, and then try to implement those solutions. Maybe if one solution fails, maybe look for the other one, or you can evaluate which solution would be rather good and then plan accordingly to implement that solution so that you would arrive at a permanent solution. That is what is needed. Most of the time what happens is the human beings, they try to solve the problems immediately or quickly. Problems can never be solved very quickly. It's not like a first aid or it's not like an immediate operation. So immediately after the operation, the doctor stitches and the problem is resolved. No, it's not like that. So a problem has to be dealt carefully. As time goes by, you would arrive at solutions. So that's why no band-aid solutions are to be looked for problems. That means when there is a cut or when there is a some kind of problem in your body, what you do, you try to cover up with a band-aid. You put a band-aid around it and see that the problem is solved. But it's only a permanent, it's not a permanent solution. Again, you need to go back and see, administer some medication, and again you need to put band-aid and then see that it heals. If it doesn't heal, again, sometimes what happens, it goes beyond your control. So gangrenes will form. So maybe the finger or the toe has to be cut out because of the band-aid solution you wanted for. That is immediate or temporary solutions are not workable or not useful. So when I say temporary, it's for a short time. So again, it would recur. Again, it will happen. So we don't want problems to recur. So when one problem comes, you apply a band-aid solution and again for some time you will be silent or calm. Again, you have to face the same problem. That recurring will not going to help you to manage your life. So you need to have a solution, apply a solution where there is a permanent solution or permanent resolve of that particular problem that is being faced at. So what are the steps involved in solving the problems? So first of all, you need to identify the problem, structure the problem, and what is the goal or what is the barrier that is there in the problem. So what is your goal? What is that hurdle or barrier that obstructs you to move ahead or progress and prioritize, order and sequence your solutions for the problem that you face. That is called is cognitive psychology. That means you need to apply your mind. So the problems that I was talking about is first one, honesty or truthfulness. This is really a very challenging problem for all the young minds of today. So when there is a problem, what happens? You try to escape from the problem by lying. You are not true to yourself. So you lie and try to escape. That is what is called, I said, a band-aid solution. A band-aid solution will not help. So you should be true to yourself. Be genuinely speaking about the problems. Be honest. So I think Mahatma Gandhi's, my experiment with truth, he says how honesty is very important. Of course, everybody, most of the eminent people, they stress upon truthfulness and honesty. So when you are true to yourself, it will set you free. Maybe temporarily you will have some problems. By lying, what happens? You would escape from that situation, but the problem will not be solved. There is dishonesty. Dishonesty will never be able to resolve the problem. I am reminded of another story here when talking about honesty and truthfulness. Our childhood stories where when father and son go together to a forest to earn their lively means. The father makes the son sit at a particular place and goes to cut down the wood. So the son wants to have fun at his father. So he yells at his father saying that there is lion or tiger that is coming and approaching me. The father was so terrified that he runs to his son and finds him simply laughing at him, saying that there is no tiger or there is no danger. So father somehow controlled himself and goes back to his work. So this kind of fun goes on with the son. Twice, thrice he commits the same thing. The father runs hurriedly to the son to rescue him. And again, he was laughed at. And again it happens. Ultimately, the fourth time or so, the son repeats the same threat, saying that I am in danger. There's a lion which is attacking me, or a wild beast that is attacking me. And now he yells for help, asking father to come and rescue him. Father listens this time, but never comes back because he was tricked for 3 times by the lies of his son. So the fourth time, the reality he faces, the tiger comes or the animal comes and ultimately kills the son, even though son yells for the help from the father. Father never returns because he was tricked 3 times earlier. And the moral of the story, never lie, be true to yourself. So truthfulness and honesty will always set you free. So learn to be truthful. That is very important. That's a solution to the problem. So what is the solution to being dishonest? If you are not honest, nobody will believe you. So honesty has to be inculcated. It is a skill that you need to put into practice. Stop lying. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to your parents. Don't lie to your friends. Be honest. Be truthful. And it will really set you free. So that is one problem that all the youngsters face. So it has to be inculcated, practiced. So when something is practiced, I think Niraj C. Chaudhary, a famous Indian English writer, he says in one of his stories, Indian Crowds, he mentions about how you have certain things by nature, inhibition. So by nature, you do certain things. And by practice, you do certain things, habituations. So what happens here? If you practice, it becomes your second nature. So for example, when you are a student working for or studying for your examinations, what you do? You keep an alarm, set it for 5 o'clock, and as the alarm rings, you shut it down and sleep. Is it so? No. You keep an alarm piece so that you would get up at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whatever time that you have decided to get up and study. Maybe one day you keep an alarm, 2 days or 3 days you keep an alarm, and get accustomed to the time, so that automatically on the 4th day or the 5th day, you would be able to get up by 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock according to your time that you wish to get up and study. So what happened? The alarm has helped you to tune yourself by practicing to that particular time to get up. So it has become your habituation. It has become your habit to get up now at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whatever time that you decide to set the alarm piece. So after a while, what happens after 4 days or 5 days? Automatically at that particular hour, you get up. So it has become your second nature now. So naturally by 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, without the help of alarm, you can get up. If you are not still there able to get up, then that's a different matter. You are such a lazy bugger. That's a different matter. But on the whole, that's how when you practice something, it becomes your second nature. Though initially you face difficulties, but it becomes your second nature. So you would be able to get up at that particular time. So even this honesty and truthfulness has to be practiced from the beginning. Maybe you are now in a teenage, or you have just crossed to your youthful days. As a young adult, it is your duty or responsibility to be honest. If you are honest, if you are not honest to yourself, how can you be honest to others? And how do you expect others to be honest to you? Maybe as long as you maintain honesty within yourself, for yourself, slowly people would realize that they would also become honest. So you need to set an example for yourself. How best genuinely I can speak, I can stand for, is the first problem that it has to be addressed to yourself. Your conscience. How is your conscience working? Are you able to maintain that honesty throughout your life? Not at one time, not at twice or thrice, not at a particular situation and leave and go back. Of course, many people strive on lies. Maybe they'll have the temporary band-aid solutions, happiness, but ultimately that will catch hold of dishonesty, untruthfulness. All this will catch hold of the individuals one day or the other. And when you are caught, you face the problem. That is, you will be punished. So, my dear students, try to maintain honesty maybe from today onwards, from this day onwards. Maybe all these days you are dishonest. All these days you are lying to your parents, to your friends, to your teachers. But at least start, there's a saying, never late, better late than never. In English, there's a saying, better late than never. Maybe today is the right time for you to change, mend your lifestyle. So become an honest individual. It's not honest, H is silent, it's honest. So honesty, truthfulness will set you free. Second problem that I want to talk about is time management. So most of the times we are laughed at as Indians, and everywhere throughout the world, when we say Indian punctuality, that means either you would be late, too late to that particular situation. So even time has to be very manageable. It can be managed. Punctuality is very important in one's life to succeed. That's why even when you go to your college or when you are at school, a schedule is given, timetable. So according to that timetable, the school runs or the college runs, the classes run. Why is it? To inculcate the discipline of time management. So 6 hours of time or 8 hours of time or 12 hours of time, how much of time that you are to work, how much of time that you are to spend leisurely, maybe for reading purposes, for having pleasure, that is through sports or through other extra readings or through entertainment or through other habits like eatings, sleepings, and so on. So how are you managing your time? Are you able to keep up the time? Most of the time we find many students postponing things, or maybe because of some physical problems or because of laziness, because of maybe uninterested aspects of that particular subject that you are dealing with. So you need to learn to check the time, manage your time. So that's why it is always better to have a calendar. Maintain a calendar for each one of you, your schedules. So what is the time for me to get up? How much of time I'm spending for my spirituality? How much of time that I'm spending for my family, my brothers, my sisters, or my parents? How much of time I'm spending for each subject? If you are in a profession or in a job, how much of time I'm spending in that particular job, working for the job? So what is my work time at home, at work, at workplace? Am I able to cope up my time, or am I being postponing in a state of postponement? So how am I managing my time? Because we know that we are in a world where our life is a short span of life. That means we hardly live for 60 years or 70 years. Or according to God's blessing, if we have live more than 70 years or up to 8 years, it's only because of its blessing. So we are in a short period of time in this world, and how do we maintain our time is very important. So you need to inculcate, practice that time slots according to your requirement. So you can arrange a schedule, manage, maybe until you get accustomed to the time management. It is always better to make a note, keep a diary, make a note of the schedules of your works that you are to attend each day. Especially during this time of COVID, we know most of you are spending time at home. You're not even allowed to go out and play. You're not even allowed to go and chat with your friends. Of course, now you have these gadgets, mobile phones, where you can chat with your friends, attend classes online, and so on and so forth. But how much of time is being wasted by playing games on your mobiles? Gaming doesn't going to help you to manage your time. You lose your time, unnecessarily waste your time because of such games, and also some of them are even losing their lives because of this stressful games that are being developed. These developers, they don't care about lives of humanity. They don't care. They are only after the profits. They are only after the money. So it is your responsibility. It is under your perusal to manage your time. See that you have specific times for specific things, so that the 12 hours of time that you spend in a day. And mostly nowadays, these youngsters are wasting their time even at nights. When these gadgets were not available, maybe by 10 o'clock or 10:30, or to the maximum after study, by 11, people used to sleep. But I find most of the students wasting their time playing these games, unnecessary chit chats, and unnecessary video gamings, playing even after 1, 2 o'clock at midnight, and not getting good sleep. If you don't get good sleep, you won't get up in the morning, and you won't have energy to look at your academics, and you would be rather trailing behind your friends, because we live in a very competitive world. So time management is another important thing where you need to focus and rather put it into practice by scheduling your works accordingly and maintaining the time accordingly. Be in time for everything, and you will be able to manage it properly. Third aspect is financial management. That is with reference to the money that you are spending. I know in an Indian scenario, what happens most of the time, we depend on parents. Maybe these days, some of you are very blessed that the government has come to you to pay your money, your fees. So we have many schemes that the government is now coming up with for the welfare of the student community. In spite of that, you are given pocket monies by your parents. You get a lot of money, but how are you managing your money? Maybe as of now, maybe you are getting some thousands only, a few thousands for some, maybe a less than that for some. So whether it's 100 rupees or 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees, how are you managing your money? Is a big problem. Because if you are a spendthrift, that is your money, you are spending money more than you earn, more than you require. You become a spendthrift. You are spending very freely without any accountability. So when it comes to finance, there should be always accountability. That's what Gandhi says in his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. So he also, as a barrister student in London, as a law student, he was being looked after by his patron brother. And every month he used to get money from his brother. And he used to live a rather happy, luxurious life by going to his destination by taxis, spending his money on eating outside in the hotels or cafeterias and so on and so forth. So by the end of the 4th week, he would be in debts. There won't be any money for him to spend, and all his money is lost, and now he would end up his 4th week in debts. So after introspecting himself, so he started examining himself. Why am I losing money? My brother is sending me money for the whole month, but within the 3rd week or by the end of last week, I'm losing money. Why am I losing the money? So what happened? He started maintaining his accounts. Then he realized where he is spending his money unnecessarily. Maybe for the taxis, I'm spending more. Maybe for the hotels, I'm spending more. He realized wherever he is spending extra money, then he cut that extra expenditure. And by cutting his unnecessary expenditure, at the end of the day, he realized, at the end of the month, he realized that he could arrive at some balance. He could see that he could save some money, arrive at some balance. So that's why he says that you need to learn to be accountable for your spending. Maybe as of now, you are not earning, or some of you might be earning. So whatever earnings, you are not supposed to be a spendthrift. And especially those who get money from your parents, look at your parents, how hard or how difficult, how much of hard work they put in to earn their money. And they are sending you all this money or giving you all this money so that you will be in a comfortable state. But many are not utilizing the money properly. They are becoming spendthrift. Needless expenditure is there, and needless spent of money, waste of money in unnecessary things. So my dear students, learn to be accountable to every single rupee that you spend. Maybe, as Gandhi has mentioned, maintain an account and see how much of unnecessary expenditure that you are incurring. And ultimately, you can cut short of all those unnecessary expenditures and try to save money from this age. You may feel, maybe there's that kind of a pride in you that you have plenty of, my parents are both working, they are giving me money. Why do I need to save money? If you try to become accountable, there is always a balance at the end of the day. So you need to learn to maintain that balance from now on, so that you will be able to have that freeness, or you will be able to have that kind of a tensionless life in managing your finances when you learn to maintain the balances, when you learn to be accountable for every single rupee that you are spending, though it is not your hard-earned money, but it is your parents' hard-earned money which is being given to you in order to make you comfortable. But don't become spendthrifts by unnecessary expenditures that are being incurred. Then coming to the fourth problem that I would like to talk to you about is academic goals. We all set forth goals as a student, as a professor, as any other professionals. You have certain goals. Maybe as of present, students have their own academic goals. That is, you want to pass through your intermediate with a high rank, or your graduation in engineering or any other subjects, you want to secure good ranks. And ultimately, you want to go for your highest studies abroad or go for higher studies in reputed institutions. So, how are you able to reach that goals? Are you spending time, managing your time? Are you able to reach your goals properly? So what is the road map that you have drawn to achieve your goals? Many people are becoming dropouts in higher education because they are not able to set their goals properly. They are not able to make their paths clear in order to reach their goals. So you have academic goals, that is how you want to approach. Are you able to maintain your timing in submitting your assignments, attending your tests, making notes, preparing for your examinations? So how much of time is spent for your study? So if you cannot spend time, there's a saying, isn't it? Hard work, intelligence may fail, but hard work will never fail. So look at the successful people, be it Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk. So all these eminent people who are successful in their lives, so their lives were not bed of roses. They have worked hard. So much of time is spent on reading. So much of time is spent on experimenting. So they have set forth these short-term goals and long-term goals and try to reach their goals accordingly by managing their time, by acquiring knowledge, whatever knowledge that is required for them to use to achieve their goals. So this is very important. So nobody's life is a bed of roses. Everybody has to work hard, and intelligence is given equally. Don't say that one is intelligent than me, I am not. But how you utilize your knowledge, how you use your intelligence matters. So if you work hard, maybe some people have that kind of an ability to grasp things quickly and reproduce things quickly than others. But if they also work hard in order to acquire knowledge, grasp things and reproduce accordingly, maybe intelligence out of sheer overconfidence, people might do mistakes, but a hard worker who acquires knowledge through his hard work will never forget and will never be careless to use his knowledge. And ultimately, hard work always pays, leads you to succeed. So look at your academic goals. Have you set forth your goals? If not, this is the right time for you to start. Set forth your short-term goals. Okay, this year, within 6 months, maybe I want to finish this. Within 1 month, I want to clear this subject. I want to acquire knowledge in this subject more. I want to go beyond this. Maybe within this year, let me complete my academics with, maybe if I am now in 70%, let me get 80%. So to get 80%, what is the approach that I need to take? So how much of time I am spending? Is it 2 hours or 3 hours of study per day? Maybe I can increase 1 more hour. Can I do that? If I do that, what is the outcome? How much I'm going to gain it? Am I going to lose in other subjects? So like this, you need to rather evaluate, introspect and evaluate, and ultimately you will, if you are able to reach your goals properly through the right path that you choose, then you would be able to succeed in solving your academic goals or in reaching your academic goals. Then communication is a problem for majority of the people. Maybe they say because of the background study, I come from Telugu medium, or I come from that medium or this medium. It's all nonsense. Today we know that English language is called as lingua franca, that is the world language. So wherever you go, you have limitations to use your mother tongue. So maybe for Telugu people, maybe within the Telugu region, 2 states, beyond these 2 states, if you go beyond Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, there is no Telugu. You cannot survive through Telugu. So either you should be learning Hindi or you should be well versed with English. So if you are well versed in English, automatically your writing and reading, or your writing and speaking skills, it will enhance you, or it will make you to communicate better with other people. Because today we live in a globalized scenario. So many MNCs have come into place. So multinational companies are there recruiting people from all over the world. It's not only within India, it's everywhere. So India, we know that it's a mini world. We have within these 26 states, we have 26 languages, 26 cultures, and so on and so forth. But still, people are able to come in together and work together. So only means of communication there is English. And those who say that I'm not good at English, I cannot speak well, or I cannot write well, is that you are giving a lame blame. Because I know that whether you are from a Telugu medium background or English medium background, English you have been using from your high school level at least. Some of you from your kindergarten level or LKG, UKG level, and maybe for some primary school, maybe from fifth class onwards, and others maybe throughout the school life. You have been learning the language. But how are you using the language is the question. So in order to improve your communication, you need to use the language. I always say it's like fuel to an automobile. So when you buy a car or a scooter, and if you don't put your petrol in that and use it, your vehicle will not run. Your motorbike will not run, your car will not run, unless you put some petrol and use it. And then ride takes place. You go through your destinations comfortably. Likewise, language is a tool. So you have to put that fuel of language into practice. Where do you practice your language? Maybe for some it is difficult at home. But the right place for you to use your language is your classroom with your friends. As I'm talking about English language. When you're chatting with your friends, use most of the language in English, most of the words in English. Let not worry about your friends. Maybe they might tease you. They may make fun of you. And try to speak in English only. I know that it is difficult initially. Your friends will make fun of you. Maybe your teachers will also make fun of you. Don't bother. Or you might feel shy that you might commit mistakes. You have to commit mistakes. That's what I say always. If you're not committing mistakes, you're not going to improve. Do commit mistakes. Do it wrongly, no problem. Don't worry. Don't worry when somebody laughs at you saying that you are doing like this. You're wrong. Better. What is happening there? You're learning. When somebody corrects you, don't take it to your heart. Don't feel embarrassed that he is correcting me or somebody is correcting me. It is for your betterment. And use that correction to improve yourself. So next time when you will not commit the same mistake. You will improve. So to make use or to become a good communicators, you need to use the language to the maximum, and classroom is the right place for you to use it to the maximum with your teachers, with your friends. maybe outside world it is a bit difficult. So put that into practice. Use the language to the maximum. And second thing that I want to point out here is you have to become a good listener to become a good communicator. Good listeners are good speakers. So develop an ear to listen carefully. You just can't hear. So there's a difference between hearing and listening, isn't it? So when you hear through this ear and you leave it through the other ear. You don't focus, you don't pay attention. But listening is listening carefully with a lot of attention, focusing on the content that you are listening to. So as you open up your ear to listen well, you acquire the knowledge skills. You acquire the skills that would help you to words, vocabulary. How are the words used? What is the context of the word? How am I being, what is the meaning of the word? How is the word is being used? And then when it is there in your mind, automatically, how much of retainment is there in your, so it is a practice. As you listen, grasp these words and reuse the words accordingly. That would help you to communicate well. So why most people are not able to communicate well is that they don't have vocabulary, lack of vocabulary. Pronunciation, style of language is secondary. As you improve, these pronunciation aspects and style of language would automatically improve. So try to use the language. And now you have these gadgets and you have internet facilities. There are plenty of websites available on the net. Browse through instead of browsing through your unnecessary chatting and unnecessary playing of games, video games. Browse through the net for useful information. So internet is a major resource that is available at hand today. Make use of that resources. As I said, time is very short. So you will not be a permanent student. If you want to be a permanent student in a particular academic institution, you will be failing. So you don't want to fail. You want to move on your life. Of course, in life, we are all students. So life gives you a lot of teachings. The experiences teach you. That's a different aspect. So in order to better your communication, use the language, use it within the classroom, with your friends, with your teachers, and with the gadgets, try to make use of the resources available. Plenty of resources are there in the internet. So if you are able to utilize it properly, you can enhance your communication skills. You can better your communication skills. So my dear students, that's how you can overcome. Expose yourself to the maximum to the language by listening, by reading, by speaking, and even by writing. In that way, you are able to enhance your communication skills. Never, maybe in the beginning, don't shy away that you are committing mistakes. You have to commit mistakes. That is what I always say as an English teacher also. Commit mistakes, do mistakes, don't worry about the mistakes. But when somebody recognizes that mistakes, tells you, don't take it to your heart, but take it to rectify your mistakes. Or as you go on using also, you only realize self-examination will give you a chance to rectify your mistakes. And through this rectification, you are perfecting your communication skills. That is what is needed mostly. And when it comes to social and societal problems, there are many problems. Your neighbors, you have problems with your neighbors with communication. You have problems with your neighbors with your intelligence. People are jealous about you. Either you feel proud about yourself or you pride on certain things where it causes a problem to your neighbors, your friends. There is a lot of animosity. There are many people who dislike you because of your attitudes, because of your dishonesty, because of your indiscipline, because of your poor state, because you are unsuccessful in life. Apart from these, maybe some relationship, maybe you have some problems with your parents, not able to communicate, not able to share your love with your parents properly. or parents, because of their situations, their problems, unable to cater much time to you, which you expect. It may not be happening. Maybe your relationship with your brothers and sisters, your relatives. Don't always wait for others to act. You act accordingly. You be the change. And when you become the change, you would influence, you will have, there would be an impact of your change on others, your parents, your friends, your neighbors. So as they change, automatically, the whole societies would change. We need to learn to live and let live. We have to learn to be accommodative. So when you learn to be accommodative, that is able to provide gaps, provide space for others to help you out. Always mindful to take help from others. Don't be proud of your knowledge. Don't be proud of your abilities. So this self-esteem or self-pride is the main cause for individuals to fail. Don't boast of yourself. There are people who boast of themselves. I did like that. I am like that. I am like this. It's not going to help you to progress. It's not going to help you to move ahead. So don't be boastful, or don't be proud of yourself, but learn to be accommodative, learn to be submissive. So submissiveness is not a character of weakness. Submissiveness is not a character of helplessness or a character of weakness, but submissiveness helps you to grow. Submissiveness helps you to become lovable. Submissiveness helps you to become rather a solver of problems, resolver. So a famous businessman and a writer by name John Hall. He was a writer and a businessman. He puts forth certain 6 techniques that can be adopted to solve problems. 6 techniques. What are they? So develop a step-by-step approach. So you identify the problems and approach the problems step by step. So he says that problem solving is a cyclic. That means it's like a circle. It goes and comes, problems goes and comes at one situation or one time or one point of time or one point of situation. So step by step, you approach the problems and ask solution-oriented questions. Ask questions which can create, don't ask questions which can create negativity, but ask questions which are rather solution-oriented. So think, when you ask a question, think whether you are asking a right question or not to that particular problem. And thirdly, change your mindset. As I showed you it's a cognitive psychology. So your mindset, how is your mindset? Is it narrow-minded? Sometimes you need to think beyond the box, out of the box. Out of the box thinking is required for certain problems to be resolved. So don't have that kind of a narrow-mindedness. Develop broad-mindedness towards the problems. So take these problems as challenges. Look at them as challenges to grow. So don't stick on to or don't linger on to a negative first impressions. Generally, when you look at people, the first impression is, we say that the first impression is the best impression. But these impressions may change when you're when you think in the out of the box lines, or when you take away these negative impressions which linger in your mind. So your mindset has to be changed when you are addressing a problem, facing the problem, questioning the problem. Fourthly, it says, work with your hands. Experiential learning with our hands. As Lendell Melvin, a famous American, also points out. So individuals approach experiential learning by individuals, you need to learn to work with your own hands to resolve a problem rather than delegating the problem to somebody else, postponing the problems, or giving passing the buck on to others when problems come. That is not going to help you to arrive at situations. And as I said already, people are egoistic. They feel proud about themselves, maybe because of their knowledge, because of their success, whatever may be. So you need to learn to set aside your ego. When you are unable to identify the problem, face the problem, try to resolve the problem, it is always better to take help from your friends, take help from your peers, take help from your elders, experienced. Set aside your ego and take help from outside. It will help you to resolve your problems. Sometimes what happens when there are so many problems, people try to run away. Don't run away, but you are allowed to take break from the problems. Give some time, reflect on the problem. Divert your mind for some time by doing some other thing, by relaxing, by celebrating, attending a party, going to visit a friend, take a holiday, and then come back to the problem. So to clear your mind from that kind of a narrow-mindedness, from that kind of restricted thinking, maybe walk away from the problem for some time so that your mind can be cleared. You get refreshed and come back to the problem with a broader sense of mind. Then, as he says by John Hall, these techniques would also help you to resolve the problems. So my dear students, be mindful that problems are permanent in a human life. That means after one problem, you will face another problem. At one age, you have some problems. At another age, you have different problems. So as time goes on in your life, problems continue to persist. How you face the problems, how you address the problems, how do you find solutions to the problem, how do you analyze the solutions to suit your problem, to resolve your problem permanently matters. So never run away from problems, never commit suicide because of problems, because it is said that today's statistical data, it is the young ones, and that too, it is the young boys, the male gender that is committing more suicides than the female gender. So dear students, be strong when you face problems. Identify the problems and try to rectify them by applying the things that I have pointed out to you. So major problems that I pointed out, these 5 problems are there for every student. So how do you manage your problems, arrive at solutions, and as you arrive, you would be able to succeed by resolving your problems. With these words, I wish you all the best and I wish you success in your life. May God bless you all. Thank you.